The fallout from the Epstein email dump continues. Donald Trump spiraling out of control. He presented very sickly and weak. He claimed that the voice that was very hoarse today was caused by blowing his stack, and that's the words he used, yelling at some leader of a foreign country and blowing his stack while yelling at this leader. We'll break down what happened as Donald Trump spiraling out of control, and now he's pretending that he wants to release the Epstein files if Congress votes for it, even though he has the authority himself to just release it now. But he says, I will allow Congress to see what they're, quote, legally entitled to. We'll break down what that actually really is code for. Hint, he's not going to produce the files. We'll talk about what went down in the criminal case against James Comey today, where there was a order by the magistrate judge, Judge Fitzpatrick, basically saying that there may have been some of the most gross misconduct ever to take place, I think, in the history of grand juries. If this is actually what went down, we'll have to wait to get more facts, of course. But Donald Trump's hand-picked former personal attorney turned top federal prosecutor in the District of Virginia, Lindsay Halligan, apparently she was in this grand jury all by herself, and she was giving false legal instructions to the grand jury, just lying about the law. Also, she put up a witness, a federal agent who had access to attorney-client information, and so that witness should never have testified in the first place. And then there is the issue of the missing transcript. And did Lindsay Halligan either not produce the full transcript, or could it even be more bizarre and offensive? Is it possible that she never even actually got a second indictment, which is what's at issue, and just made it up herself? I know that sounds, in theory, completely outlandish, but the judge, Fitzpatrick, said either you're still hiding grand jury testimony from us, or you never really secured an indictment. We'll break down what went down there. Donald Trump is meeting tomorrow. He's meeting on Tuesday with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Apparently, the things that are going to be discussed is Donald Trump giving America's top secrets to Saudi Arabia, F-35 fighter jets, nuclear weapons, and or nuclear secrets, which many people in the national security sector are worried will find its way to China pretty quickly. And this comes at the same time that Donald Trump is making additional deals with the Saudi family and the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, known as the PIF, their private investment fund, a $63 billion Saudi-owned real estate project that the Trump family is working their way into the middle of, as well as a project in the Maldives for the Trump organization. And as Donald Trump's rolling out the red carpet and essentially giving a state visit for the Crown Prince, even though the Crown Prince technically isn't the head of state. You have Donald Trump's feud with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Donald Trump's kicked Marjorie Taylor Greene out of MAGA. He calls her Marjorie Trader Greene or Marjorie Trader Brown because he says that she is rotten. He calls her a maniac and a lunatic. And then meanwhile, Donald Trump still going around today saying America is in the golden age right now, that things couldn't be better and everybody is rich. Maybe Donald Trump is by grifting off the American people, but the American people are not feeling this. That's an understatement. Let's bring in Brett and Jordy. Brothers, we have a lot to discuss. And later in the show, when I talk about that order by the federal judge in the Comey case about what may have gone down in that grand jury, hate to say I told you so, but it was exactly as predicted after she secured that indictment. I said, I bet you they lied to the grand jury, lied about the law, and who even knows if it's a real indictment?
I think just about every step of the way we've been saying, watch this space, watch what's going on here, because this is about to backfire on Lindsay Halligan, on Pam Bondi, on the entire DOJ, on Donald Trump very quickly, and the other shoe has finally dropped. I'm excited to get into that. I mean, what a disaster. And following up, it's just right now, it's like a Russian nesting doll of disasters, disaster within disaster within disaster. Corruption meets chaos meets incompetence. I guess that is the equation that results in the Trump regime. regime. And we saw that on full display, especially, I mean, always, but especially even over this weekend, just a complete nightmare situation for the Trump regime. And the one big thing that we're starting to notice, and if you guys know watching the show, we monitor MAGA quite a bit here, and the things that the Trump supporters are saying and the Trump administration's attempt at damage control, well, we are also seeing the fracturing of MAGA, the cracking of MAGA, like we have never seen before. I think for the first time, we are truly seeing the beginning of the death of this MAGA movement happening before our eyes. It is quite the thing to see as Donald Trump just makes misstep after misstep after misstep, and then basically throws it in their face with this golden age talk. Like, not even these Trump supporters are buying this horrific messaging right now that's coming from the White House. It's such a slap in the face to tell people they are living in the golden age as they are suffering, and people know they are suffering. There's never been a president in history who has been able to successfully lie to people about their own economic situation. Donald Trump thinks he is different. I am telling you, he is not different. That's why we are seeing Trump sink into the polls to record lows. Like, in some polls, he's at like 33% approval, which is really just like the hardcore cultists at this point. It is getting bad for Trump. It is getting even worse for the Republican Party as a whole. We're going to break it all down on this episode of the MeidasTouch podcast. It's great to be here, Ben. Great to be here, Jordy. Great to be here, Meidas. Mighty, speaking of Jordy, what's the latest?
How's it going, brothers? What's up, Meidas Mighty? I am stoked to get into today's show. And I just want to start where you started there, Brett, with the golden age. Like, it is so offensive, the golden age that Trump is touting for the American people. So what is he talking about? The golden age? Yeah, maybe for the people who are at the Mar-a-Lago Great Gatsby Halloween themed party, maybe that's who's living in the golden age. But the American people are feeling, quite frankly, the pain that Trump has been inflicting on them in their wallets. They have literal receipts. Every time they go to a grocery store, every time they go to a pump, they see it. They see it come out of their account. And so Donald Trump could gaslight the American people all he wants, but people are smart and people are pissed, and people aren't going to take this gaslighting much longer, Benji.
Look, why was it that Donald Trump went bankrupt so many times, right? Business after business went bankrupt because he has a loser pathology, and where you see a contagion spreading, where you see a problem metastasizing, leaders will try to take actions to stop it. That may be admitting fault, changing leadership, taking accountability, trying a new strategy. But Donald Trump, his entire entitled golden spoon in his mouth life, just doubles and triples down on the mistake. And he turns a problem into a disaster into a catastrophe into a cataclysm into just absolute annihilation and bankruptcy. And that's the decision tree that he goes through. And we see this in everything he does here, whether it's his trade wars against the world, his handling and cover up of the Epstein files, whether it's with his attack on the rule of law and going after his perceived political opponents. He continues to go down a route that just creates more and more problems until it all blows up. When we talk a little bit later in the show about the prosecution of James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, not only would a prosecution like this never be brought, but the moment that you would see what developed today, or we saw this developing over the past few weeks as well, but where a magistrate judge makes a ruling like this in any normal administration, I mean, you would fire the prosecutor, you would dismiss the case, you would try to do some actual damage control. But what the Trump regime's going to do is they're going to keep on barreling on. And what we'll see happen is that now this contagion, this embedded kind of virus within the DOJ that we know is always there, it starts to spread. And I think the fallout will be more than just Lindsey Halligan. I think it's going to impact a lot of people as well. Think about it. Pam Bondi has filed multiple declarations now ratifying the conduct of Lindsey Halligan and saying that Remember, because Lindsay Halligan was the only person in the room by herself. And there's a whole question, which I don't think is a question at all, but that she was unauthorized to even be a United States interim attorney. And she's the only person in the room in order to try to ratify after the statute of limitations expired. Pam Bondi's like, I've read all of the grand jury testimony, and I think that everything was done perfectly and great. So now Pam Bondi, with her bar license, ratifies Halligan's conduct. And we just see this throughout, right? When it comes to inflation surging right now, and people are struggling, and affordability is a real issue, a serious issue. People are living paycheck to paycheck and psychologically tortured by that. People can't afford their rent. People definitely can't buy homes right now, or they're late on mortgages if they have it. We're seeing credit card delinquencies at record highs. We're seeing jobless claims, the highest since really the Great Recession and COVID. And Trump continues to say, golden age, everything's great. Thanksgiving's 25% cheaper, when we know that's a lie. And by continuing to take us down this path, he just makes it worse and worse and worse. And I just want to flag that at the outset. Donald Trump seemed very sickly today. He seemed like actually weak and sick. And I think that's because he's really struggling with the release of those Epstein emails, where in the 2,300 or so email threads from the 23,000 emails, he appears in over 1,600, or over half of the email threads relate to Donald Trump in very grotesque and disturbing ways. Not just like references of, oh, Donald's the president. No, like going back to like 2011 and 2007 and 2015. I mean, Epstein saying Trump's like the most gross individual you'll ever know, exchanging memes with his brother that keep this guy away from your daughter, referring to Donald Trump, about whether Putin has photographs of Donald Trump blowing Bubba, whatever that means. And Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, said it's not Bill Clinton that he's referring to, but didn't deny that blowing Bubba does refer to some person, but not Bill Clinton, is what Mark Epstein's clarification was. And of course, references to Donald Trump being around victims and such. And so I think Donald Trump realized that on Tuesday, there was about to be a mass defection. And I predicted it was going to be over 100 Republicans who were going to vote to release the Epstein files from this discharge petition that was led by Democratic Congressmember Ro Khanna and Republican Congressmember Thomas Massie. So now Donald Trump acts like he goes, I've always supported. Everybody knows that I was the guy who wanted the release of the files. So I support the legislation. Let's be very clear right here. Donald Trump doesn't need the House to pass a resolution for him to release it. Trump can order it be released right now. He has that power. The only reason that this discharge petition was necessary is because the Republican-controlled House and Senate was taking orders from Donald Trump not to release the files. And had they passed the legislation, they wanted to force Donald Trump to do it because he wasn't doing it on his own. And he put out that memo saying they completed the investigation and the investigation is over and they're not going to be releasing files. So the House and Senate wouldn't do it. So Ro Khanna and Massie did this discharge petition to go around MAGA Mike Johnson. They got that signed. But if you go and look at what Donald Trump said, let's be very clear about the language that he uses. He says that the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. And so what that really means is because Donald Trump has ordered the DOJ to investigate Democrats only, he goes, investigate the Democrats, investigate Larry Summers and this guy and JP Morgan Chase and investigate them and look into them. And then Pam Bondi's like, aye, Captain, we're going to investigate that. I think what Trump's going to argue, what the DOJ, very corrupt DOJ, is going to say is we have a pending investigation right now, so therefore we can't release any of the files because pending investigation immunity, basically. We're not going to produce it. Or Donald Trump's also hoping that the Senate kills the legislation as well, and they don't take up a release the Epstein files vote in the Senate. So to me, that's what's going on there. And so this is Donald Trump now figuring out how to recalibrate and basically delay, and try to drag this out even more. So this was Donald Trump in the Oval Office today. Again, very sickly. People were asking, why does he sound that way? Trump says, it's the Democrats who were on the Epstein files. I wasn't on, or the Democrats were with Epstein. They were his friends. He goes, I wasn't at all. I was never with this guy. I wasn't at all. Here, play this clip.
Seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, but they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all.
I think there are more photos of Donald Trump and Epstein than I've seen photos of Donald Trump and his kids. I wasn't at all. And again, he just treats the American people like we're all stupid. A reporter asked Donald Trump about his voice sounding rough, that he looks and sounds sick. Here's what Donald Trump says.
Yeah.
Mr. President, I have a question about Venezuela, but can I just first ask, the health of the president's always news. Your voice sounds a little rough. Are you feeling all right?
I feel great. I was shouting at people because they were stupid about something having to do with trade in a country, and I straightened it out. But I blew my stack at these people.
Well, it sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela? You suggested...
Sounds as the what?
It sounds like there's a follow-up there, but can I ask you about Venezuela?
I thought you said there was a polyp. And I said,
And you're not avoiding suspicions that you're very sick right now, and that you mean both mentally and physically right there. And then just the people around him laughing when he said, I blew my stack. And they're like, oh, like objectively,
Including the reporters, by the way.
like objectively, like what's the humor? Like what's the joke? He yelled at someone and used the term like blowing my stack. Is that I mean, in light of all of the emails about him blowing Bubba or whatever, I mean, using the terminology blowing my, it seemed that's not what they were laughing at. They were like, oh, you yelled at him, oh, whatever. And it was not funny.
Yeah, I don't know why that's even like accepted behavior as like a leader. Like you wouldn't accept that from corporate America if somebody was like, yeah, I was screaming at my staff so much that my voice is hoarse. I was yelling at them. They were doing terrible work. I was angry at them. I was pissed off. I was screaming at them. You'd be like, oh, maybe you're not such a good boss. Like you say, you sound like a really bad boss. But they're like, oh, Donald, just screaming at your staff over here. Great job, buddy. Keep it up. Those were reporters in the room too, laughing. Like, what the heck are you doing?
Well, it just shows you too, Brett. I'm going to give it right back to you, but they've capitulated so much, all of these reporters, that they just laugh along because they don't want to be kicked out of the room. The access to Donald Trump means more to them than figuring out, hey, who are you yelling at? Why did you yell at them? Or should we be concerned now that you made another enemy for the United States? Like, they don't care about that. They just want to laugh and nod along so they get to stay in that room and then go tell their family, I was in the White House today.
Yeah, as we go through more of these Oval Office disasters, Donald Trump talked about food prices going down, and he goes, I think you'll see them coming down. They're coming down, right? Here, play this clip.
so I think you're going to see another thing happening. I think you'll see food prices. They've come down very substantially since Biden, but I think you're going to see food prices coming down very substantially.
They've not come down very substantially. They've gone up very substantially. And again, when they keep going with golden age, the American people are looking at them like the con artists that they are. We know we're not experiencing a golden age. Now, Donald Trump may be experiencing a golden age for him and his family. I mean, they're literally getting golden bricks delivered to them now by people in the Oval Office. And you may go, well, we know that. We saw Tim Cook give him the golden brick. Yes, but now there's actually, I can't make this stuff up, a competition among people who meet Donald Trump in the Oval Office to give the largest golden bricks. And so the Swiss came in recently and they brought a massive 1 kilogram personalized gold bar. And then they also brought him a special Rolex desktop clock. And then a Trump regime spokesperson, I kid you not, said that this topped Tim Cook and that others need to see that this is the type of stuff that he's like looking for. Like they just went out and they bragged about it. This also comes as the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is visiting the White House on Tuesday. And his expectation is that the United States will be giving Saudi Arabia F-35 stealth fighters. And potentially advance a deal to transfer American nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia. And this happens at the same time the Trump Organization is close to joining a $63 billion Saudi-owned real estate project, as well as a project in the Maldives that the Trump Organization is just openly posting about. Senator Adam Schiff wants to remind everybody that there's something called Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, the emolument clause, which says no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, accept of any present emolument, office, or title of any kind, whatever, from any king, prince, or foreign state. And it's just emolument crimes, right, taking place before our eyes, Brett and Jordy.
And let's be honest here. Let me just back up, because I need to sometimes like bring us back to reality, because you just read through 3 stories there at least. Each one of them individually in any other administration in any other time is an impeachable offense. Like every single one of them. Donald Trump profiting off the presidency and then giving favors to these countries based on these corrupt deals. I mean, that is the very definition of an impeachable offense. I mean, just look at this. I want to go back to the Rolex one, because it's just such a perfect and blatant in your face example here that the Swiss gave these gifts to Donald Trump: a Rolex clock and a gold bar. Like you can't even make up, like the things they're giving him also, you can't even make up as just, they're just such, it's like if you wrote it in a script, like what's the most outrageous thing that somebody could give a president of the United States as a gift in order to get special favors? A Rolex clock and a gold bar. Like what the heck are we doing here? And so what did Donald Trump do? Well, Donald Trump cut tariffs on Swiss goods like luxury watches from 39% to 15%. So this is how Donald Trump is using his power of the presidency to profit and also to bully countries into doing what he wants in order to get personal gain for him and his family. For all the time that James Comer and all these Republicans tried to conjure up all of these things about Hunter Biden's and the Biden crime family, this is literally what is playing out with Donald Trump and Don Jr. and Eric Trump and the Trump organization every single day, not even one time a day, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you name it, times every single day. It's the epitome of corruption. It's everything our country is not supposed to stand for. And it is absolutely a disgrace what we are witnessing. Yet everybody just goes on with their day as like, oh yeah, it's just Donald being Donald. You know, he got a gold clock. He got some gold bars. What are you going to do about it?
And then, Brett, I want to add, because Ben touched on, we played the clip of Trump calling it the Democrat hoax again when we're talking about the Epstein files. Like when Donald Trump calls it the Epstein hoax, that should just piss everybody off. And by the way, it is. Like, this isn't a Democrat or Republican thing. This is just a basic humanity thing. And what the American people are calling for is transparency into the Epstein files and their release. The American people are demanding accountability towards the highly influential and wealthy network of men who raped girls, children. These are real people, real victims who are brave as hell and now who are relentlessly speaking out. And what does Trump do? He throws it in their face and he calls it the Epstein hoax. I mean, he's such a piece of shit for so many reasons, but like nothing is more bipartisan than this. Like red, blue, it doesn't matter. The American people just want to know who. And like, that's it at the end of the day.
Look, 23, 24 United States, states in the United States are currently in a recession. 11 are on the brink of being in a recession. People are struggling financially right now. America is not in a golden age, and Donald Trump is out there, again, continuing to cover up for a child sex trafficking ring, and he's out there flaunting gifts, golden bars, doing real estate projects with the Saudis and the Emiratis and the Qataris, and giving people the middle finger. I mean, while
one of the funny things about his comments that Donald Trump's been going back to over these past few days is he goes, the Democrats are trying to do this whole Epstein hoax distraction in order to distract from how great things are in the Trump economy. Everyone's great. Everyone's living it up. Everyone's doing fantastic. And they just want to use Epstein to deflect from how great everything is. Like, dude, you realize that like the country is in dire straits right now. I don't think anyone's deflecting from that. The weird thing about going back to Jordy, what you were saying and Donald Trump calling it the Epstein hoax and all of that is this was never even specifically about Donald Trump, the Epstein files. To your point, Jordy, this was about the victims. This is about their stories. This is about the things that they have gone through, them trying to get out the truth, them trying to help other survivors. There are, more than 1,000 people who have spoken out, who have been connected to Jeffrey Epstein in this way, the survivors who have accused Jeffrey Epstein of these horrific crimes. Well, imagine how many more there are. And this isn't even centered around Donald Trump, but in a bizarre way, Donald Trump has made himself the center of the Epstein story by trying to hide his participation in whatever was going on. And in doing so, he's made himself look as guilty as you could possibly imagine. Him fighting this every step of the way, him trying to create all of these deflections and these diversion tactics, and having Pam Bondi, she's going to investigate. She's going to find the real co-conspirators of Epstein. I mean, it reminds me of like, OJ going to find the real killer, right? You got Donald Trump and Todd Blanche and Pam Bondi. They're going to find the real pedos out there. I mean, give me a freaking break here. Everybody sees exactly what they're doing. I think everybody, even except maybe the most ardent Trump cultists, see exactly what is going on here. And Donald Trump, to what Ben said earlier, as he continues to lie and lie and lie, he's just digging himself further and further into this. He's backing himself more into a corner, and he is in a all-out death spiral at the moment as a result.
Yeah, and Donald Trump's manipulative tactics, they run the gambit. He is a master manipulator. He is a master con artist. If there's one skill he has, perhaps the historically greatest scammer and Ponzi schemer, perhaps ever, like in human history. And so he goes through different stages, from anger to begging to compassion, he'll just go, oh, I've always been with you. I'm with you. I love you. I love you. Oh, I hate you. I hate you. You're a traitor. You're a traitor. It'll go all over the place, and that's what we were seeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, where he now calls her Marjorie Traitor Brown. And he posts over and over again, she's Marjorie Traitor this, Marjorie Traitor that. Do we have the clip when he was flying back from Florida last night? And, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's been posting basically.
Let me just say for 1 second, his nickname game has fallen off a cliff. I mean, Marjorie Traitor Brown, give me a break. Yeah, and then he's got to explain it after the fact. He does a parenthesis. If you need a parenthesis after your nickname to explain what the nickname means, he literally wrote, parentheses, remember, green turns to brown when there is rot involved. I mean, I think you lost your fastball a little bit if you got to go down that road. Sorry, Ben. What's the clip we're talking?
Here's what he said as he was heading back to D.C. He said, Marjorie Traitor Greene, I don't think anybody cares about her, when he was asked about the fact that she now says she's getting death threats because Trump is calling her a traitor, which she says, you're basically commanding your cult to go after me by saying I'm a traitor. Traitors are people who are treasonous, who get harmed. And so here's what he said when asked about the death threats that she received. Let's play it.
Anybody, I talk to you, right? I talk to anybody. We'll see what happens.
Green says her life could be in danger because of the rhetoric.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says.
Marjorie Traitor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her. Okay, what about you?
And just think about it. She devoted her life to that guy. She called other people treason. She used those tactics against other people, and that's how he throws her under the bus. And I think lots of MAGA cult members are seeing that themselves and go, basically, any of us are trash to Donald Trump at the end of the day, if he's willing to do that to Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And let's remember, it's something we've always said, that this MAGA cult it's a circular firing squad, and Donald Trump is the one that's there to oust you from the cult, no matter what. It's why, to me, it's always so crazy when these folks come in, whether it's the new regime or the old regime, and it's like, oh, I'm going to be the person that he doesn't do this to. No, you're not special. None of y'all are special. He's a maniac. And you're not on the same team, because Donald Trump only cares about one person, and that's himself.
And just the craziest thing about it is, like Ben said, she devoted her entire life to Donald Trump. And it's not like she even said anything bad about Donald Trump. She didn't say one thing bad about Donald Trump, nor did she even say Donald Trump is involved with Jeffrey Epstein. All she said was, the people deserve the Epstein files. We should release the Epstein files. And Donald Trump lost his mind. I mean, that's the definition of a hit dog will holler, if you ask me. Trump made another post the other day on a social media app saying that this means that Marjorie Taylor Greene turned left, and by calling for the release of the Epstein files, Marjorie Taylor Greene has betrayed Donald Trump and the entire Republican Party. Just pause for a second. Why would Marjorie Taylor Greene calling to release the Epstein files be a betrayal to Donald Trump and the entire Republican Party, unless they are afraid of what is in said files.
And now Donald Trump saying, I've always said that I support releasing the files. What? Like, what is it? The level of lies, their contradictory nature. It's why I always say, stop thinking about this even as like Democrat, Republican, Independent. Like, he's just a bad guy. He's just an evil person who lies and is filled with hate and is just grotesque. Like, that's what this is. He's a con artist. He's a criminal. He's a scammer. He's a sexual abuser. He's a bad, bad, bad person. He's been a bad, bad, bad person his entire life. He will always be a bad person, and he makes America bad. He makes America a bad place that the rest of the world looks at with like disgust. That's what he's done to this country. We'll be right back. We're going to take our first quick break of the show. A reminder, become a member of our YouTube channel by hitting the join button and gain access to some of the exclusive features we have here on our YouTube channel. And you can gift memberships to other people. We know the economy's tough. So if you happen to be able to afford memberships and you can give memberships to others who can't afford it, give them the gift of a membership heading into Thanksgiving and the holiday season, and let them access some of these great exclusive bonus features that we have here. When we come back, I want to break down what went down in the James Comey case today. Explosive ruling by Judge Fitzpatrick there. Then I want to talk about what's going on with MAGA Mike, MAGA Republicans spiraling out of control. A lot to break down. We'll be right back after.
Hold on, Ben. I can't let you go without giving you a huge shout out as well, because you did an amazing interview with Senator Bernie Sanders that I just want to shout out. And I hope everybody has a chance to listen to it. It's on the MeidasTouch podcast feed right now, anywhere you get your audio podcasts, and on our YouTube. A deep dive conversation, really nuanced, excellent conversation about AI and its implications. I hope everybody has a chance to check it out because it was so good. I got to give you props. And Senator Bernie Sanders has some incredible insights there. Okay, now I'll let you go to break. We'll be right back after this. Don't you go anywhere.
When you're buried in credit card and loan debt, it's human nature to put it off and say, I'll deal with it later. If that's you, here's a hidden fact that the debt strategy experts at Done With Debt shared with me. They discovered a little known strategy that works in your favor to dramatically reduce or even erase your debt altogether. They aggressively engage everyone you owe money to this fall, and here's why. They know which lenders and credit card companies are doing year-end accounting and need to cut deals. They even know which ones have year-end audits and need to get your debt off their books. That means you need to get started with Done With Debt now, this fall. Done With Debt accomplishes this without bankruptcy or new loans. In fact, most clients end up with more money in their pocket the first month. Get started now while you still have time. Go to donewithdebt.com and talk with one of their specialists for free. Visit donewithdebt.com. donewithdebt.com. I have to tell you about this game-changing product I use before a night with drinks. It's called Pre-Alcohol. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Now here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. Even after a night out, I can confidently plan on having a great next day without worrying. So I first gave pre-alcohol a try when I was at a wedding over the summer. I drank it before my first cocktail, and you wouldn't believe how on top of my game I felt the very next morning. Now fall is right around the corner, so that means it's time to raise a glass to your favorite team. Whether you're tailgating, enjoying a college game day, or watching Sunday's action on that fancy new TV, don't forget ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink. Drink a pre-alcohol before drinking and enjoy great days after celebrating all season long. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Meidas at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, head to zbiotics.com/Meidas MeidasTouch.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas at checkout for 15% off.
You know, every holiday season, I try to be relaxed, but then on top of all the crazy news we're dealing with, you've got the travel, the endless planning, the last minute chaos. And before I know it, I'm clenching my jaw so hard at night that I wake up feeling like I just chewed through concrete. So I finally did something about it. That's why I use Remy night guards, and I'm not alone. Approximately 30% of US adults grind or clench their teeth at night. Remy's custom night guards are clinically tested to prevent teeth grinding, reduce jaw tension and facial muscle strain, and improve sleep quality. You get the same professional quality and comfort as a night guard from the dentist, but Remy costs you 80% less and is way more convenient than having to go into the dentist's office. And as an added cost benefit, you can use your HSA or FSA benefits toward your night guard at checkout. Here's how it worked for me. I received my impression kit straight to my door, followed Remy's step-by-step instructions to get the perfect impression. They crafted and shipped me my custom fit night guard, and once it arrived, I started protecting my teeth immediately. Super easy, super quick. And for the holiday season, Remy is gifting their customers with their 2-in-1 foam that both cleans your night guard and whitens your teeth for free when you order a night guard between now and December 24th. Go to shopremy.com/Meidas and use code Meidas to receive 55% off your new night guard plus a free foam gift. That's shop, REMI.com/Meidas, MEIDAS, for 55% off a night guard plus free gift using code Meidas. Thank you, Remy, for sponsoring this episode.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Some lovely holiday deals, y'all. Check them out. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Click the links. Use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. I'm going to do it. I'm also going to give Ben props, Brett. You give Ben props for break. I'm going to give him props too. Benji, Wi-Fi, camera. You're looking on point, big bro. The chat is excited. The craziest part is the audio listeners don't know really about Wi-Fi Gate because Brett, I'll give you your flowers, spends about 2.5 hours after the episode fixing the audio and fixing everything up before we post it onto the RSS, which is the audio feed. I know I'm getting really technical right now.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get into how the sausage is made, but
But Benji, the Wi-Fi is looking pristine, dude. You look great and sound great.
Thank you, Jordy. Let's dig into why this is such a big deal. What the federal judge ruled in the James Comey criminal case today. And so just to kind of situate you, because there's a lot of different judge names out there, the James Comey criminal case is pending in the Eastern District of Virginia federal court before a federal judge named Judge Nachmanoff. Judge Nachmanoff, like on these federal criminal cases, works alongside another federal judge called a federal magistrate judge. A federal magistrate judge is not an Article III judge, meaning he's not appointed and confirmed by the Senate and appointed by the president, but they're basically picked by the federal judges, and they play important roles when it comes to signing off on search warrants. They play important roles during the grand jury process and during discovery in criminal and civil cases. That magistrate judge is a judge by the name of Fitzgerald. Separately, you may have heard a judge's name that was in a related proceeding involving James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James criminal case. That judge is named Judge Curry. Judge Curry is a different judge who got assigned one specific motion from Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. That's a motion to disqualify Lindsay Halligan, saying that she was never properly appointed to be the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia because there was previously another interim United States Attorney who happened to be a Republican who was forced out by Donald Trump because they believed at the time that there was not sufficient evidence. This former Republican U.S. attorney, there was not enough evidence to indict Comey and James. So they got rid of this guy, and you're only allowed, based on a statute, to have one interim United States attorney. That was this Republican guy who they pushed out. So by picking Lindsay Halligan, you now had two interims, which violates the law. You'd have to get her appointed by Trump and then confirmed by the Senate. You can't have another person get that interim status. So that's before Judge Curry. Now, Judge Curry, in the past few weeks, flagged this issue of a missing portion of a grand jury transcript that you may recall that there was an initial indictment presented to the grand jury by Lindsay Halligan, and then the grand jury did not agree to sign off on that indictment. They rejected it. So then there was a second indictment which is unheard of. This is not normal proceeding. Apparently, if you believe Halligan, she went back to her office or she went back in the hall and someone printed her out another version of it to remove the charges that were rejected by the grand jury the first time. And then she claims that the grand jury signed off on that second indictment, and that became the one that indicted James Comey based on the claims that basically he lied to Congress. The thing is that after 4:20 or so p.m. Eastern time, there's no longer any transcripts or audio from the grand jury. And there's a court reporter in there who's taking notes and doing an audio recording of everything that's going on. So they just captured what went down basically up until the first indictment that was rejected. But after that, there's basically missing grand jury transcripts. Lindsay Halligan responded to Judge Curry, "We gave you everything. We presented it to the grand jury, and that's what they signed off on." But that doesn't make any sense because they did a second grand jury and they did another indictment before the grand jury. So what happened then? How'd the grand jury know to look at the second indictment that you showed them? What did you explain to them? What was that? And so Judge Curry flagged this issue of missing transcript portions. But then today, Judge Fitzpatrick was ruling on the issue of whether or not to allow James Comey and his legal team to get the grand jury materials. Now, normally, a criminal defendant never gets the grand jury materials unless and until a witness who testifies before a grand jury testifies at a criminal trial. Then you can basically make a motion because you get to cross-examine that witness on inconsistent statements that they may have made during the grand jury versus what they're saying at trial. But it's usually only then when you get the grand jury testimony if that same witness testifies at trial. So here, the request for grand jury testimony, it's an extraordinary request that's almost never given to a party who asks for it, because grand jury's always shrouded in grand jury secrecy because there is a presumption of normalcy and regularity that federal prosecutors who go in a grand jury room are bound by their ethics, bound by the DOJ guidelines, that they're not going to go in there and just engage in gross misconduct and lie and put their legal licenses on the line, including put their entire life on the line, because it could potentially be criminal if you're lying to grand juries about things. And so here, James Comey said, though, the situation is so irregular, 2 indictments, and there was just all the, Donald Trump posting on social media, Pam Bondi tell Lindsay Halligan to do this indictment, that, like, Judge, can you just take a look at this grand jury transcript and see if there's sufficient showing for Comey to get the grand jury testimony based on there being extraordinary circumstances? And the judge found, wow, there's extraordinary circumstances here about what went down in this grand jury room between Lindsay Halligan and the grand jury. One other point to mention, because you may go, well, wasn't the judge in the room with the grand jury, and wasn't Comey's lawyers in the room with the grand jury when the indictment was being sought? No. The only people in the grand jury room are the prosecutors and the grand jury. And the law presumes that the prosecutor is going to accurately instruct the grand jury on what the law is, that there's not going to be deceit or misconduct, although there is this remedy in extraordinary circumstances, but the showing is so high and hard to make that you can challenge the grand jury proceedings, and that's what Comey is doing here. And so this magistrate judge, who was ordered by the federal judge, in this case, Nachmanoff, to conduct this review and to make particularized findings, made very particularized findings about what went down in the grand jury room. And what the judge said is that there was a number of issues that the judge finds very serious. First, that Lindsay Halligan may have lied to the jury about two critical, like, legal issues. The grand jury was asking Lindsay Halligan questions about the Fifth Amendment right and of James Comey against self-incrimination, to which the judge basically says that Lindsay Halligan instructed the jury that James Comey had a burden to basically rebut the evidence, and that James Comey wasn't there, so he's not able to rebut the evidence, so that there are like presumptions that are almost made against James Comey. Like the fact that she says the Fifth Amendment right basically is not the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination, that was misstating the law to the jury. And then the grand jury also was asking, like, is this all the evidence you have? And we don't think that there's a lot of evidence here. So how do we square this with the fact that you're asking us to sign off on this indictment, but we don't think there's enough evidence? To which, according to this judge, he's like, well, Lindsay Halligan told them at trial, we're going to have better evidence. So you can just assume at trial, we're going to put on better evidence, which she was not allowed to say. And so the judge looked at that and said, Judge Fitzpatrick looked at that and said, those are inaccurate legal instructions. Then there was only one person who testified before the grand jury, and that's a FBI agent. And the FBI agent, who's identified just as agent number 3, he came into contact with attorney-client information between James Comey and one of James Comey's prior lawyers, a guy by the name of Daniel Richman. And Daniel Richman is the person who, I suppose this agent claims, that Comey instructed to go to the press about certain information, such when Comey was testifying before Congress like 5 years ago, and he said, I didn't instruct anybody. The claim, I guess, is that Comey's former personal lawyer and advisor, this guy Daniel Richman, was instructed by Comey to go to the press back in 2017. Daniel Richman, in prior proceedings, stated that he was never instructed to do so. But in any event, this agent apparently looked at attorney-client communications between Comey and Richman, which again is banned. You're not allowed to do that. Or if you come into contact with it, you can't then testify because you've now come into contact with attorney-client tainted information. What you should have done is disclose that to the court, been transparent about it, basically not have any interaction with the other agents, because now attorney-client privilege basically means that what you say to your attorney is always confidential unless you're engaged in criminal conduct. But once you come into contact with attorney-client information, you can't be on the case anymore because you violated the sacred relationship between, in this case, James Comey and his lawyer, Daniel Richman. But they're also claiming that Richman is their main witness against Comey. So you have that aspect to deal with. And then it comes to the issue of the missing portions of the transcript. And the missing portions of the transcript, the judge says either the transcripts are just straight up missing here and you're lying to us, and these things and the transcripts actually exist, or the judge says, or we're in uncharted territory here, in which case, did you even secure the second indictment? I mean, because that second indictment you brought before the grand jury, we don't see any reference to it in this grand jury transcript. All we see is the first one, which was rejected. So is it possible that you just like went out in the hall? The judge doesn't use this exact language, but almost the implication is, did you doctor an indictment? Like, did you, after they rejected it the first time, did you just go and basically change the filing, but keep their signature on it and pretend that they agreed to it? Or are you not giving us the transcript because you would have had to have given the jury instructions on the second document that you gave them? So I know that may be a little bit of a wordy background, and I'm sorry if it was confusing at all, but I tried to kind of cut through it and break it down as best as I could. But these are serious implications right now. So the Trump regime filed emergency briefs right now to the main federal judge, Nachmanoff, saying, do not give Comey these grand jury transcripts. You have to stop it. And they're going to probably try to appeal this all the way up. I've never seen anything like this before in my legal career, or even heard of anything like this.
Who would have thought, Ben, that a beauty pageant contestant turned insurance lawyer with zero prosecutorial experience, who's never been in a grand jury room, has never done any of this, would screw something up so spectacularly. And it's why she was the only one who was willing to do this, and and you could blame, she deserves a ton of blame. Pam Bondi, by the way, who signed her name onto all this and has vouched for Lindsay Halligan throughout this, just continue to keep an eye on that as well. These people are all to blame. And obviously it all goes up to Donald Trump, who, as we said in the beginning of this episode, he will not try to course correct on an issue. He doubles down and he doubles down until it's just a total full-on disaster. And that's what's happening right now. And this could really take down his entire Department of Justice. This is actually devastating right now. And to sum up the things that Ben was saying too, the judge found 11 distinct findings, 11, each one providing grounds for Comey to challenge the indictment. And so to me, you're looking at the Comey indictment right now. You're looking at the Letitia James indictment right now. In my opinion, looking at reading the tea leaves, those are going to go away. These are obvious vindictive prosecutions. Lindsay Halligan was the only one who was willing to touch it. She obviously screwed it up just by nature of there was no case there to begin with, and she tried to apparently fabricate one, and now she's being called out by the judge. And I think as we see this go on, Lindsay Halligan she should take a look at the past lawyers who tried to do things like this for Donald Trump and see where they ended up. She should take a look at what happened to Rudy Giuliani. She should take a look at what happened to John Eastman, Jenna Ellis, Sidney Powell. Go through the list. You could go through the list of those names. Guess whose name will be at the end of that list? Probably not at the end, because there'll probably be more of these people. But the end for now, Lindsay Halligan. If you want to look into your future, look at what happened to those people. You could kiss that bar license goodbye. I mean, everything you have done right now is so unethical, corrupt, against everything that you are supposed to do as an attorney, with people who have even the most basic knowledge of the law would know that the way you are conducting yourself in these rooms is completely illegal. And so as this thread continues to be pulled, we're going to see this continue to unravel. And all of Donald Trump's sham indictments, in my opinion, are going to be going to go away. And this is all going to continue to backfire on Halligan, on Bondi, on Trump. It's just the latest of a series of failures of this regime, where this regime is just a laughingstock and a total incompetent place, where just everything is falling apart, no matter where you look, no matter what division of the government you look. It's just one disaster, one collapse after the next.
That's why it's important to have adults in the room and real serious people in the room. Ben, this is way more your domain than mine, so I'm not even going to attempt to really comment here. But one, can Halligan be disbarred? And two, what do you think happens next year?
Yeah, I think that the disbarment won't be instantaneous, but this seems to be heading down a path where, just the mere fact that she went into a grand jury room and lied to the grand jury about what the Fifth Amendment is, and lied to the grand jury about whose burden of evidence, who has to shoulder certain burdens of evidence. That's unheard of. And look, we don't know. I want to be clear. We don't know what the issue is with this missing transcript, but the issue with the missing transcript involves the fact that the grand jury rejected the indictment when it had 3 counts and it was first presented to it. And according to Lindsay Halligan, she had to go back, print out another document because the grand jury was confused about what it looked like. And then she brought back a 2-count indictment, and she said the grand jury then agreed to this 2-count indictment. That's the part that's missing on the transcript. That's what Judge Curry in the disqualification hearing was referring to, right? That's what we've now learned. And so if she never presented we don't know this, but this is why the judge said we're in uncharted territory, is what the magistrate judge said today. The idea that she may have just presented a document as the grand jury indicting James Comey that they never even saw, or they weren't aware of, because that's not captured on the transcript. Jordy, that goes beyond disbarment. That's again, this is why I want to be very careful with my language, because we don't know. But if that's what took place, Jordy, that's criminal. That's literally a criminal act. that in normal times would put somebody away for 20 or 30 years in prison. Like going to like forging a grand jury signature on a document. That's why the judge says, okay, it's either missing, Lindsay, or you're handing me something they never saw. It's one or the other.
This is one of those sort of, I don't know what's considered a main story and a side story in this administration, but this is one of those stories in this administration that the second these indictments were signed off by the grand jury, we said something doesn't smell right. Something doesn't smell right here. Like, they clearly did not give this grand jury all the information here. They clearly did not introduce exculpatory information. Like, there's something at play here. And that's why from the beginning we said, watch the story, like follow along here. This is not going to end well for Lindsay Halligan. And we could still say that right now. There is much more to come. Watch what continues to come out here. Watch what Lindsay Halligan tries to do as she feels cornered. You know damn well right now that she is terrified of what's going on. And like Donald Trump, instead of just fessing up, instead of trying to correct the record, she and Pam Bondi and Trump just continue to spin out more, which only makes the problem worse for them at the end of the day. But they just can't control themselves because they are so in deep on this corrupt scheme. They feel so invincible, but it is all falling apart. The house of cards is coming undone before our eyes.
Yeah, the rule of holes is stop digging, okay? Or the law of holes is stop digging, and they continue to dig. And to the extent there's any poetic justice or justice coming out of this as well, it's that Pam Bondi not once but twice in declarations ratified what Lindsay Halligan has done in order to basically prevent Halligan from being disqualified in that separate proceeding, which is just dealing with disqualification. This is dealing with grand jury misconduct, which is a separate grounds for dismissal. So to try to, and this is just shows you too, like they're not even smart with the moves that they're making, right? In order to try to prevent her from being disqualified, the plan from Pam Bondi and the DOJ was to retroactively ratify the conduct as though Bondi was in the room with Lindsay Halligan by just filing a document after the statute of limitations expired and the claim against Comey was time barred. So not only is that argument not going to work because you can't retroactively, reactivate the statute of limitations as the DOJ by saying I was in a room where I was not, but now you've ratified and said that you support that conduct, which the judge gives 11 separate reasons about why this was gross misconduct. So just think about Pam Bondi's future as well, because folks, there will be a future beyond Donald Trump, okay? Increasingly, I think that's being made very, very clear to people in the Republican Party, to people in Trump's cabinet, and their decisions, their complicity, their war crimes they'll be remembered. Trust me, people are remembering them, okay? Let's take our last quick break of the show. A reminder, hit join. Become a member of our YouTube channel right now and gift memberships to others if you can. When we come back, we'll be on our home stretch of this episode. We've got a lot to discuss still. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network, here to tell you we are supported by MS Now. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. These words are more than just the opening of the Constitution. They're a reminder of who this country belongs to and what we can be at our best. They're also the cornerstone of MS Now, whether it's breaking news, exclusive reporting, election coverage, or in-depth analysis. MS Now keeps the people at the heart of everything they do. Home to the Rachel Maddow Show, The Briefing with Jen Psaki, Deadline, White House with Nicole Wallace, and more voices you know and trust. MS Now is your source for news, opinion, and the world. Their name is new, but you'll find the same commitment to justice, progress, and the truth you've relied on for decades. Same mission, new name, MS Now. Learn more at ms.now. That's ms.now.
Now that the days are short and crisp, I find myself craving comforting, home-cooked meals. Home Chef makes it easy with their oven-ready options and hearty recipes that hit the spot without me stressing over what's for dinner. Home Chef is rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. Home Chef makes cooking simple. Fresh food delivered, easy recipes to follow, and meals that actually taste great. And now with Gordon Ramsay's exclusive recipes on the Home Chef menu, you can enjoy 5-star meals without the stress. Choose from Gordon Ramsay's co-branded dishes featured across Home Chef's culinary collection, classic meal kits, and express options, each crafted to make you feel like a chef in your own kitchen. Whatever kind of day it is, classic recipes with fresh ingredients, 30-minute meals, oven-ready trays, or quick microwave options, Home Chef has you covered. There's even a dedicated family menu for hassle-free delicious dinners. And it's not one size fits all. Home Chef has over 30 meal options each week with choices for different diets and tastes. Plus, it's affordable. Home Chef customers have an average of $86 per month on groceries. Now, I love Home Chef. I can't recommend it strongly enough. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off and free shipping for your first box plus free desserts for life. Go to homechef.com/Meidas. That's homechef.com/Meidas for 50% off your first box and free desserts for life. homechef.com/Meidas. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. Ever have one of those moments where your body reminds you it's not 25 anymore? Maybe it's the slower recovery after a workout or the way your joints creak like an old floorboard. And don't get me started on how much worse it is in the winter. It's like my energy goes into hibernation. Aging is a reality for all of us, but our actions determine how we age. That's why I use Qualia Senolytic to help keep my cells healthy and my body feeling youthful. Zombie cells are real and they're aging you. These senescent cells stop being useful, but stick around, draining your energy, slowing recovery, and making you feel older than you are. Qualia Senolytic helps your body fight back against aging. It's a powerful, clinically tested formula with 9 vegan, plant-derived compounds that support your body's natural ability to eliminate zombie cells, so you can feel sharper, stronger, and more energized. Take it just 2 days a month. That's all it takes. Take Qualia Senolytic for just 2 days a month and start aging better at the cellular level. After adding Qualia Senolytic to my routine, I noticed a real difference. My energy feels steadier, recovery is quicker, and mentally I'm more dialed in. Experience the science of feeling younger. Go to qualialife.com/Meidas for up to 50% off your purchase and use code Meidas for an additional 15%. That's qualialife.com/Meidas for up to 50% off your purchase. Your older self will thank you. And thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in the description of both YouTube and the audio. Click the links. Use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Before I toss it back to you, Benji, I just wanted to say, if you enjoyed Ben's expert legal breakdown that he did prior to going to break, Ben hosts a legal show on the MeidasTouch Network called Legal AF with Michael Popak, Karen Friedman-Agnifilo. It's a fabulous show. Check that out wherever you get your podcast. That's Legal AF.
Oh, if you listen to this, you got to listen to Legal AF, people. Legal AF is the best. By the way, not only is there a Legal AF audio podcast on all the various audio platforms, there's also a separate Legal AF YouTube channel with like every legal expert you'd ever want to hear from. It is fantastic. They are doing legal updates on all sorts of topics all day. It's incredible. That's on YouTube. So check out the Legal AF channel on YouTube, the podcast on audio platforms. I promise you, you will not regret it. It is excellent news and analysis.
One of the things that Trump and his regime was bragging about today is that they say they're taking steps to try to make things more affordable, like coffee and different types of produce. And they said they're doing an executive order to try to remove some of the reciprocal tariffs. And they're saying this is a big deal, and they're showing that they care about affordability.
Yeah, this is the craziest thing ever. You have all of these MAGA people on Twitter right now who are like, like the paid shills. Like it's easy to see who are the paid shills right now because they're like, brilliant move. Donald Trump, executive order, removes tariffs on coffee to make things more affordable. Way to focus on affordability, Donald. You're crushing it. And you're like, all right, what idiot put the tariffs on the coffee in the first place? And why don't you answer that question? And also, isn't Donald Trump the guy who over the past, 10, 11 months or so, has been saying that tariffs don't raise prices. So isn't this a tacit admission that tariffs do in fact raise prices if, due to, quote, affordability concerns, you are now removing the tariffs in order to lower the prices? It blows up everything they have said about these tariffs. It blows up everything they've tried to say about, oh, these are genius moves by Donald Trump. Oh, wow, he's playing 4D chess. No, he's not. He's a freaking idiot. And now he's reversing course because he knows that people are suffering despite the fact that he continues to tout that we are in a golden age.
It's literally the arsonist putting out the fire and then looking around to be like, hey, you guys going to compliment me for putting out the fire I started? And then these MAGA shills, they do. I mean, he's getting what he wants from them, but the American people, like I said earlier, are smart. They're seeing through this, Benji.
Yeah, and a little bit, Jordy, you're gonna like what I'm gonna show you, or maybe you won't. It's your boy Joe Kernan.
Oh, that's just Jordy rage bait
on CNBC. Except Kernan speaking to Trump's top national economic advisor, and is like, "You think this is a really like?" He's basically like, "Dude, I'm your MAGA guy on CNBC. I've been trying to help you for all of these months. Like I've been doing everything, and you're really making my job very difficult right now. Like you realize you've made me look totally stupid." It's basically what he's saying, Jordy. But I'll show you that in a moment.
I've been kerning clean for about 3 weeks now, so that's gonna be over with this episode.
Oh, wow, I can't believe
no
that
Kernan
do this
in November.
No Kernan in November.
Let me show you first, though, what Donald Trump said when he was giving the speech before at the McDonald's American Golden Age Forum or whatever the hell he's been doing, like posts today of like the White House with the McDonald's arch on it, and he's like, "We're in a golden age," but then he's talking about the minimum wage. And this was his message to workers about the minimum wage. I think we've got it. Let's play it.
I'm in legally, and wages for hourly workers are rising at the fastest pace in 60 years. And sometimes you might say, was that good or bad? It's great for you. The minimum wage thing you'll have to be talking about. You're going to have to fight. We were talking about California, Gavin Newsom from California. And I knew he's laying siege on the minimum wage. And you people probably know, because that's a very complex subject, and you people probably know better than anybody the impact one way or the other, good or bad. And you're going to let your local congressmen, your senators know about it. But in 9 months, we've lifted.
The hell is that, dude? You're supposed to be the president of the United States. And you're saying that Governor Newsom is laying siege on the minimum wage. By that, do you mean he's requiring corporations pay a living wage or a wage with decency, and that we're actually seeing corporations doing just fine? I mean, to me, I have a problem personally seeing CEOs making like 1,000 times the amount of money that the workers are making, who are the backbone of the company. I'm all for people being entrepreneurial. I'm all for, the idea that if you, create a business, you should be able to make money. I'm good with that. But we have to realize that so much of the problems that our country faces, it's so interconnected, and that we can't have a great country or a good country if we're not just helping each other out. What's the point of a country if it's basically just a forum for a class warfare where billionaires and right-wing oligarchs are destroying people's lives and making people miserable? That creates misery throughout the entire country, in my view, at every level. And so that was Trump's view there. But just
think about Trump's view, though. Just think about the psychology of Trump here and what it says about his entire belief of the country. And so Trump obviously has, ever since the election, the Republicans have been reeling because Democrats won by running on issues of affordability, and Trump is trying to pretend that prices are down, that everything's great, that everyone's living, it's extravagant lives, everyone's doing fantastic, everything's affordable, which everyone knows is BS. And so Donald Trump then decides to hold this event on affordability. I want to go back to what this event is supposed to be about. This event is about affordability. And then he goes and he tells the franchise owners, that they need to be prepared to fight minimum wage increases and attacks Governor Gavin Newsom for raising the minimum wage, which helps uplift people out of poverty, which helps uplift people's quality of life. How do you go to an affordability event and then rant against affordability for he's talking about affordability for owners, I guess. He wants to make the owners richer. I mean, it's the most absurd thing on the planet.
I can't believe the guy that hosted the Great Gatsby themed Halloween party doesn't want the American people to actually earn a living paycheck. It's just crazy to me.
You got to be prepared to fight. That's what he said. That's what he said to the owners. You got to be prepared to fight this minimum wage thing.
You got to get ready to fight. Get ready to fight. All right, let's take a look, Jordy, at your boy Joe Kiernan and his interview with Trump's National Economic Advisor. First, you had Trump's National Economic Advisor, Kevin Hassett. Now, this guy has made a career about being wrong about everything. Right when the dot-com boom went bust, he was the guy saying, it's going to be incredible. Buy. Like literally the next day after the guy's book came out, like everything crashed. Like his whole life, he's been like the most wrong guy, like literally the worst person for this position. And he does it in such like a weaselly way to, So what he's referring to, the fact that jobless claims right now have reached basically the same highs we saw during the Great Recession or during COVID. And we don't even have accurate data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So who knows? It may even be worse. But the way that he refers to Americans losing their jobs and also losing their jobs because of AI as quiet time in the labor market. No, they're not losing their jobs. It's just quiet time in the labor market. That's what the Trump regime is referring to, the surge in jobless claims. Let's play it.
Last CPI report we got surprised 48 Bloomberg economists on the downside, and even had some sort of temporary bad news because there was a refinery that was shut down, if you're looking at the top line number. I think that there have been mixed signals in the job market and really, really positive signals in the output markets. As you know, we've got GDP now running close to 4%. We've got productivity running up around 3%. And so I think that there could be a little bit of almost a quiet time in the labor market because firms are finding that AI is making their workers so productive that they don't necessarily have to hire the new kids out of college and so on. But because they're
they don't have to hire the new kids out of college. I'm sure that's great for the 18 to 29-year-olds. They feel great about their quiet time. But also I should note that everything he said there before he went into quiet time was also false. He was like, in all the Nobel laureates, all the economists were shocked about inflation going down. Inflation's going up. Objectively, it's going up. It's 3% year over year, 3% more now than under former President Biden. That's not going down. I mean, these people lie about everything. And then Joe Kiernan is like,
just Kiernan.
George Kiernan, he's like, if we're reversing tariffs to try to help affordability, aren't we acknowledging that tariffs were causing things to be less affordable? Here, play this clip.
The whole issue of tariffs, if we're reversing some tariffs to try to help affordability, isn't that acknowledging that that tariffs were responsible for some of the higher prices and for some of the inflation that is still a problem?
Well, first, this is nothing new. If you go through all of the trade deals that we've been doing all the way through, then there have been things that we decided it was prudent based on the economics of supply and demand to exempt. And one of those things that we've been exempting all along is something that we don't make in the U.S., we'll never make in the U.S., or almost never. I know that in Hawaii they make some coffee. And so onshoring that production really doesn't make sense. It's not part of our strategy. And what the president just did with food is decide to make like a blanket movement so that we weren't going through each deal and picking this.
Okay. Literally, your tariffs against the world did not exempt those things. That's why you're exempting them now, right? If they were exempted before, then why are you exempting them now? Like, do you think we're that stupid? You're exempting them now because they weren't exempted. And that, like, everybody said the tariffs were going to make things rise. And that's why inflation is rising as well. When inflation was heading down before, you've caused it to rise. And then finally, Jordy, I'll show you this one right here. Where
I can't believe you've ruined my no Kern November. It's just over now.
And what Kernan says, though, is, when Trump says prices are falling, we know that's not true. So don't you think it's like harmful to the administration, the regime, when you say that and people know it's not true? Like, why do you think that's a good thing to say? Here, play this clip.
But when you keep saying prices are falling, that's not true, because inflation is still, the 3% is on top of all the inflation we had during the Biden years. So we got all that inflation plus an additional 3%. And we should, I think you should admit that.
A more precise way to say it, though, Joe, is that purchasing power has gone up. And so real wages, that's W divided by P for our technical people in the audience, have gone up by about $1,200 this year. So the way to think about it is that we've dug a $3,000 hole because of Biden policies, and we've, gained $1,200 on the way out.
No, we didn't. No, purchasing power is not every P for your technical audience. P minus. I'm just going to start saying other things. Dude, what are you talking about? Things are less affordable, objectively are less affordable. If you live in the real world, you know that they're less affordable. I want to get your perspective on that, Jordy, but one other thing I just want to show everybody as well is I just found it interesting watching Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent squirm over the weekend on Maria Bartiromo when she was saying, so we're hearing basically that in China right now, they're really not taking the soybeans like you promised. So our soybean farmers are still struggling. And also we hear that they're not releasing their rare earth elements, which was another part of what you claimed the deal was, that they were going to release their export controls, which, by the way, they didn't put export controls under former President Biden, and they were buying 27 million metric tons of soybeans under former President Biden. This year, they bought 0 soybeans, although Trump said they promised they would do 12 million metric tons. Okay, so 15 million metric tons left. And I got them to release the rare earth elements. They put the controls on because of you in the first place. And we've been flagging this issue the whole time, that there's no deals. These are fake deals. China didn't agree to anything that Donald Trump and this regime claims. Watch what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says here. Let's play it.
Is China holding back rare earth magnets from companies tied to the U.S. military right now?
Yeah, Maria, I think that Wall Street Journal reporting is not very accurate. We haven't even finished the agreement, which we hope to have done by Thanksgiving. And I am confident that post our meeting in Korea between the two leaders, the president.
So there's no deal. Did you notice Maria Bartiromo looking at him like, we made this video at the MeidasTouch network. We could have probably pulled in 20 more statements of Donald Trump from May to June, July.
Yeah, there were a lot.
There's a lot of them where he says, we did a deal. We
were pouring through them yesterday, me and the research team, and there was a lot. There was like, let's just pick 3 moments. And what is it? I think we got June, October, and then Bessent's comments that he just made, just to show you the never-ending scam, and as Ben calls it, like the Ponzi scheme, and the way that they're always like, oh yeah, we got a deal, it's just around the corner. There's a deal, it's coming. It's their deal, it's coming. You're getting $2,000, it's coming. It's always in the future. There's something that's about to be happening that never happens, or he says it happens and it hasn't happened, but it will happen soon. And it's just this constant game that they play. Just watch this clip.
We've made a deal with China. We've made a deal with probably 4 or 5 different countries. We have a deal. Now, every year we'll renegotiate the deal. And I'll be going to China in April, and he'll be coming here sometime after that.
Is China holding back rare earth magnets from companies tied to the U.S. military right now?
Yeah, Maria, I think that Wall Street Journal reporting is not very accurate. We haven't even finished the agreement, which we hope to have done by Thanksgiving.
Okay.
We had a deal in June.
Okay.
Jordy.
Okay. Couple things here. Why do they speak so weird? Like Scott Bessent and both Kevin Hassett. Like, what is he doing? Like doing this with his eyes and his hands.
Hassett's always like,
yeah, and then you got Hassett. No, Hassett just always smiling. Like he's got this shit-eating grin on his face at all times. And it's really bizarre. And Ben, I see what you're doing here. You're playing like these like slightly positive, like Kernan clips here. You're trying to make me compliment the guy. That's the least he could do after what I've seen him do during the shutdown. That is the absolute bare minimum Kernan could do with Hassett on there. And look, I know I'm done commenting on people's appearances. I'm not allowed to. The brothers don't let me do it after I commented on Marco Rubio in his ears. But Kevin Hassett, when he's speaking, it could just best be described like he's pooped his pants. Like that's what he looks like when he is looking into the camera with that smirk of his. Oh, I can't stand him. That clip, I'm gonna lose sleep. That was like Kernan and Hassett. Like, I'm losing sleep over that clip.
I think it's interesting watching these people though, like they realize how stupid that they are starting to look, because they've been pulling their own viewers along the same scheme, along the same scam that look how great everything is. And, greatness is just around the corner. You're about to get rich just around the corner. And the more they say it, the worse things get for people. And people, even the MAGA people right now, are realizing that. So you see Joe Kernan being, dude, I've been going to bat for you now for all this time. Like you realize that this isn't working, right? And like, just give me something here. Like, and you see that kind of across the board, I guess, except for Jesse Waters, who's just committed to the bit. But it's just, it's sad. It's like, enough, guys. It's a failed experiment. You tried, MAGA. It's over. Okay, you failed, Donald Trump. You have a failed presidency. You're a lame duck. You got Ted frickin' Cruz already leaking to the press that he wants to run for president in 2028. That's how you know you're a lame duck loser, Donald. That's how pathetic this presidency is right now. That Ted frickin' Cruz is like, I'm gonna run. Like, how bad do things have to get for that to happen? This is a disastrous administration. The people are feeling it. But I think the good news is, the silver lining is that for the first time, I think we're starting to see the clouds dissipate. Now, is it a guaranteed thing from here on out? Absolutely not. But I just want to acknowledge that the momentum is in the right direction, which is why right now, more than ever, we all need to remain in this fight, and we all need to be pushing in the same direction and continue to expose this administration, because we see what happens when we flood the zone with the truth. They cannot escape it. And that's exactly what's happening at this moment.
Two last things I want to point out before going. One, Nancy Mace's ex-fiance announced he's filing a temporary restraining order against her, quote, in hopes of shutting her up. Okay. But more seriously, I want to let everybody know in Charlotte and Mecklenburg County in North Carolina that we stand in solidarity with them. The Trump regime launched an invasion of Charlotte with its border patrol and ICE Gestapo there, led by Greg Bavino, where they're going shopping center to shopping center in something they call Operation Charlotte's Web. Another just stupid name, but they call it Operation Charlotte's Web, where they're basically targeting any person with brown skin, saying, where are you from? Show us your papers. They're harassing people at work sites, harassing people in construction sites, at their place of work, terrorizing the community, walking around with their weapons, pointing their weapons at people. Exactly what we saw in Chicago and Los Angeles and in Portland. They go into these cities and counties and they terrorize the people and try to create a pretext for military invasions of more forces. And they go in and literally create terror using chemical agents, again, pointing weapons at people, shooting at people, separating families, again, marching through just like peaceful communities, and the people in Charlotte and the broader Mecklenburg County area are just kind of absolutely livid. We've been doing a lot of videos on the MeidasTouch Network YouTube channel. I call it the All Hell Breaks Loose series, where I focus on a lot of the videos captured by citizen journalists who have been recording what's going on in Charlotte. And it's just so reprehensible. And these like fake tough guys like Greg Bavino who are out there, in their little outfits. I mean, they couldn't look like more parodies of a bad guy they're parodies of a parody of a bad guy in a movie. And it's just so disgusting to watch their real life ramifications of these terrorists, of these war criminals. And that's who they are. They're terrorists and war criminals. And I hope and look forward one day to accountability against these terrorists and war criminals for their behavior. And again, you shouldn't matter what political party you're from. You should not want militarized federal officials going through your communities and terrorizing hardworking people. They're not going after criminals. They're going, all the videos show they're going after people who are hardworking, people who are citizens, and just hardworking people who are here to cause chaos and confusion and disorder. Sick. But I want to make sure I brought that up at the end of the show. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching this episode. We covered a lot of topics, as always. A reminder, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast on audio as well. Wherever audio podcasts are available, search MeidasTouch and leave a 5-star review. It helps us so much when you leave a 5-star review of the MeidasTouch podcast on audio. Audio listeners, subscribe to YouTube. You want to check out MeidasTouch gear, go to store.meidastouch.com. Check out that pro-democracy gear. Check out the MeidasTouch Substack at MeidasPlus.com. Check out the Legal AF YouTube page. They're almost on their way to 1 million subscribers. Check out the Meidas Canada YouTube page. They're on their way too to 500,000 subscribers. And shout out to everybody who works at the MeidasTouch Network, everybody who helps put this on. And most importantly, shout out to you, the Meidas Mighty. We're so grateful for you. That's all I got to say. We covered a ton. We've got a lot more to cover. Jordy, you want to take it away?
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty. Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.